Now I'm just in the car park of IKEA today actually. I've just got a few minutes to spare. And what I thought I'd do is I thought I'd try and take, what at first glance might be a rather uninspiring view. It's just a parked car. A wall, the flags and so forth. And see if I can turn it into something which is a bit of fun. So I'm not, really interested in getting the exact model of this car depicted. But I want it to look, fairly realistic as a car. And that gives me a lot of freedom because I can just, change bits as I see fit and leave bits missing and so on. So I've got the car there. So then perhaps there's a little cow peeking out from behind that car for some unknown reason. I'm just pondering about putting one on the roof of the car actually, but I'm not sure about that for the moment. What I think I'd really like is to have some people here, so it's as if the cow is sneaking into IKEA or something. There aren't too many people about, pedestrians wise, at the moment. So what I might do is just get out the car and see if I can find some people to sketch. Walking down the way there, so let's put them off in the distance. I've got my little Derwent Inktense set. You can see I've got some paint left in the lid, and brought my water brushes with me because they're quite compact. Now the colour of the paint in the lid is kind of greeny and it's a fairly bluey green, so I'm going to use that to just make sure the camera's at the right angle for you. Yeah, so I'm going to use that. See, I've still got a bit of sand here from the last time I went to the beach, right? So hang on a sec. Okay. So I'm going to use that to just put in a loose indication of some trees in the background. And really, in my experience, the less you think about this while you're doing it, better. And I could probably do with a little bit more water, but because I put loads on there, and I think I forgot to bring any paper towels, which could be a bit of a problem, but because I'm working in the car and on my lap, my intention was not to go too wild with the water, but we'll try and make use of the amount of water that we've got. That should be okay, I think. Okay, well, I've got that bit of green in. So now the next thing I want to add is a little bit of grey or something similar for the foreground. So again, I'm going to make use of what I've got left on the palette here, and then oh, there we go, that was black. I'll mix that in with the green. Perhaps a little bit of the red. And then we'll just sweep this into the foreground, and the bits of sort of the dry brush marks I'm getting, that's alright with me. That adds a little bit of texture which is different to the green I applied for the upper background. And while I'm here, I'm just grabbing a bit more of the black and a bit more of the red. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but I've mixed that in, and I'm just going to put in some cast shadow under the car without being too fussy about what I'm doing. Now, as I've got that colour on the brush, let's grab a little bit more red and mix that in. And I can't remember for the life of me what the colours these people were wearing, but we'll give this lady kind of a deep red jacket, and we'll go more red again and give this chap a maroon t-shirt. Now the car, if you remember, is just blue, so I want to get a fairly clean blue colour going for that. So let's clean out this little section of the palette. And let's grab, I think this is, oh no, that was green. How annoying. Hang on. Where's my blue gone? Oh, there it is. Right, so got a nice ocean blue, which is somewhat appropriate for this car. Yeah, so squinting at the car, there are some nice highlights on it. But again, yeah, this is a loose plein air sketch that I'm doing today with the waterbrush. So I'm just having some fun. I'm not going to be too fussy about what's going on, but we can still do a simplified version, and I can still try to make, good observations. So the first thing is putting in some light blue, but taking care to leave some gaps where there are highlights on the car. And then while that's still wet, I don't have much left in this particular palette, but I'm grabbing some ultramarine blue. So we'll mix that into what I've got left on the palette. And that was a green. Oh, okay. Well, I mixed in a bit of green there, I think. But that'll be alright. While that's still wet, we'll sweep in some darker colours. And then if I grab the black, then we can use and mix that in with what I had. Then I can start to put a few reflections on the windscreen and the windows as well. And again, I'm not over analysing this, I'm just trying to capture the general essence of the situation. Okay, so I need to let that car dry before I do any further work on it. So I'm sticking with the same brush really just for, partly laziness, I guess. I could just go to my little pack of brushes and get another one out, but we'll see what we can do with just this one. So let's go with a bit of bright yellow. And the lady, if you remember, I think she had dark hair, but we'll give her blonde hair, just because I think it's going to work well with the pick. And I'm going to use that same yellow on her shopping bag. And just to connect this little bit of yellow on the right to the bit, to somewhere else on the in the painting, I'm going to give this person a yellow top, but a much fainter yellow. And then let's go back to our blues. Let's grab a bit of the ultramarine. Ultramarine blue. And we'll go. What haven't we used? That's I think it's got to be. There's a bit of brown. There we go. Let's get a bit of this purple in there. So this lady's top can be dark against her jacket, and then perhaps the bright green, which if I mix in with what I've got on the palette there, it's kind of turns it into sort of a khaki green. And again, we can use the same trick that we did before. We'll just put a little bit of that there and go back to the purple, mix it in with the green I've got on the brush, and that's given us a nice grey for the clothing of that other person. Okay, now if I grab I think this is yellow ochre that I've got. So it's come out a little bit of a dirty colour, which I'm not too surprised by, because I mixed it up on an unclean palette. But that's working reasonably well for flesh tone. And use some of that there. Just wipe a bit off on the towel so that it goes on a little bit fainter for these background people. That hasn't worked too well, but we'll deal with that in a second. Let's grab a little bit of orange and mix that in with what I had there. Mix that into a bit of the red, and this cow peeking out, we can begin to add a little bit of colour. And then I've just realised I haven't included anything to do with the flags at all. So let's grab some yellow and sweep in a swathe of yellow there, and some red. And so my hope is that by using these super bold colours, which are a little bit representative of what's going on in the real world, not that we care about that too much for this sketch, but the idea is by using super bold colours on the flags, that's going to draw the eye, and then hopefully you won't. I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, obviously in some senses you're at a little bit of a disadvantage, but somebody coming to this drawing, painting, sketch, having not seen the video, hopefully their eye will be drawn towards the flags first, and then they'll only notice the cow peeking out from behind the car at a later date. So we'll go bright orange for the remaining flag. Now, these people in the foreground are completely dry. I could do with colouring this chap's hat in. Now what I want to do is keep the looseness that I've got, so kind of enhance some of the gestural lines that I put down, keep the liveliness, but I can still add a few descriptive bits just to clarify what's going on a bit. Now the next question is, do I want to label this sketch as IKEA? In some ways that would be a nice thing to do because it reflects the origin of the drawing, but it also kind of locks. This is sort of a fantastical scene with the cow there, and if I label it IKEA, I'm kind of perhaps locking it into the real world a little bit too much, and I don't feel I need to do that. And similarly, I don't need to go into a huge amount of detail with the feet, just to make sure there's some indication. Okay, so now we're on to this chap. Now the question is, has he spotted the cow or not? And that's for the viewer to decide. But maybe they're just looking at the car. Again, not describing the feet entirely. As I didn't get round to painting in the baseball cap or the hair, we'll just give him some hair and keep the cap white. Now over to this car. They're still here. A second ago there was somebody opening the boot of the car, and I was a bit afraid it was going to leave, but we're good to go. So again, I don't want to get into too much detail, just looking at the big shapes. So when I'm working with the pen now, I can make use of the edges that have been created in these washes and enhance them if I want to, or just put a line in parallel to them. And then it makes those random washes look more deliberate. So you're sort of retrospective drawing in a sense, taking what has happened already and then redefining it. Now I've just realised I've missed out the door mirror, but I don't think it's going to add very much to my sketch if I include it. So we'll leave that for now. Now we've got quite a deep cast shadow. Now the legs of the cow, which are just peeking through underneath the car, darken those with a few hash lines. And I'm going to continue those hash lines for the cast shadow so that it doesn't become so overwhelmingly dark that it draws the eye too much, but it will hopefully mean that the legs of the cow are kind of blending into the shadow a bit, so it makes it a bit more of a coherent story. I don't think I'm going to do any more to those people. It's not that they're particularly well drawn, but it keeps them off in the distance. Now the cow, don't want to do too much. Put an eye in there and an eye in there, and that that might be enough actually. To be continued on that one. But the flags we can just hint at the top of the flagpole and then use a broken line to suggest the flagpole itself. We'll do the same over here. And then I like the idea of having some kind of lettering on these flags to show the way that the wind is catching them, but I'm not quite sure what to put on there. Or just be inspired by some of the letters. So I'll just put KJ, and then in here perhaps put half an A. So that's sort of tucked in because the flag's billowing, and then I put an N. And then a broken letter there. So it doesn't mean anything, but there's a bit of movement in the lettering. Let's try.